Hey, this is Mike. Thank you so much for choosing this video. Today we're looking at a 2024 Honda Ridgeline all-wheel drive in the TrailSport trim. Now the TrailSport trim is mostly cosmetic. It does have an all-terrain tire, which is fairly aggressive for this type of vehicle. It depends on your needs though. But this one is in the Sonic Gray Pearl, and it seems like a lot of manufacturers are going with this color. Like they just love this color. And it is a nice color. It's just interesting that it just seems like it's a little bit of a thing right now with almost every manufacturer releasing this color. Okay, so here in the front, the 2024 model, it's not a huge change or anything like that, but there is some interior changes that are different. Here on the outside, ever since they changed the front end to make it less like an SUV and more like a truck, it has this hood that kind of overlaps here. And when I first saw that, I thought that, you know, is the hood not aligned? But that actually is the way it's designed. And then it has the badge here for the TrailSport, Honda emblem, and pretty nice looking front end, I guess. If you really are interested in a truck style look, this helps out a lot compared to the previous, before the refresh, basically. Now we still have the high beams that are halogen and the turn signals that are halogen. The low beams are in a projector and they are LED, which helped out. Like with my Ridgeline, I had a 2020 and I drove it for about 40,000 miles. And the first thing I had to do was upgrade the headlights to LED because they were just too dim. So we're gonna do a full night video in this vehicle and see how it performs with this new headlight system. But we still have the halogen bulbs. Now it does have the fog lights here at the bottom and a projector, and it's an LED. It's in that very low position, which is good for fog lights. And you can see a little bit of airflow there. Take a look at these wheels and tires. So yeah, looking a little bit aggressive for this type of vehicle. If you're going off-road or something, I guess this could help out a lot. There's a little bit of road noise, but not a big deal. This one has the gloss gray finish. It's a little bit different gray than the color though. Since this is a unibody truck and it's not a body on frame type truck, they try to make it look more like a truck. You know, it's basically a Honda Pilot with a bed. And you can see they kind of add this little space right there, but this adds a little bit of flex to the vehicle as well. So it's kind of like separates the bed from the main part of the vehicle, but it is somewhat functional as well. But I really like the profile. It looks really nice. It doesn't look like an old school, 90s truck or anything like that. Like a lot of manufacturers just want to keep that really old school truck look. This one has a little bit different look. They still have this key, the Honda key here with the lock unlock. This one has a remote start, and the panic button has a physical key on the inside. It's a full proximity key. And it's the one that you press this button to lock and put your hand behind the handle to unlock. There's also a physical key location here. The inside of the door is very functional, and I'm glad they didn't change them too much because they didn't change them at all, but it's just a really good design because you have this little shelf here, you have the bottom pocket, you have this handle which also serves as a pocket as well, and then a bottle holder there, right where your hand would be. So it's very ergonomic, very useful door design. It's not overly fancy or anything like that. It does have the stitching with the TrailSport orange stitching here. It has the floor mats with the TrailSport. Power seat. It just goes forward and back. It doesn't go up and down. And it has the stitching and the leather seats as well. They look pretty good. It has the TrailSport embroidered here on the back of the seat there. But yeah, these are really nice seats. And very comfortable as well. I mean, the ride quality is comfortable, the seats are comfortable. We'll go into a lot of that stuff. Locking glove compartment. This is all hard touch here. Smooth plastic here on the inside. And almost everything is black on the interior of this TrailSport. We have a new center console. We'll get to that in more detail. Now there is a little spot right here. It looks like either a damage or some kind of quality control issue there. It's kind of separating that seam right there. This vehicle has 3,000 miles on it, so it's a press vehicle from Honda. Practical vehicle as far as getting in and out of the vehicle and the comfort. So the front is wide open, the back has a lot of room right here, and the door is quite a bit smaller than the front, but still Still a lot of headroom and all that stuff, and functional back seat for sure. A little bit less features here, but it does have the cup holder, little place to put a cell phone. This is enclosed, you can utilize that, but there's no pockets there at the bottom, and a little dished out space for leg room and stuff. And there is space under the seats which you can put stuff, which is fantastic. I use that all the time. And these seats also lift up for cargo as well. And one of the reasons why this door swings open so much is because you can use this backspace for cargo, not just for passengers. The original Ridgeline, like this 2017, the door didn't open up that much. It was like this, and it was hard to get stuff in and out, including passengers. So they made it a little bit wider. There's 12-volt power supply back here with climate control vents as well. You can see the pockets on the back of the seats. And there is a completely flat floor back here, and under the seat. So yeah, I use that seat, under the seat storage space all the time. And the seats lift up. So let's go ahead and lift this side up. So you can see it's real easy to have a flat floor, so you can put stuff in here, a big box or whatever. The other side lifts up as well. So it's real easy to just lift it up and lower it and have a cargo space while still maintaining passenger space because of the 60-40 split. There's an armrest, nice and soft. Our cup holders, little storage space there. Flip that up if you need to. You can also take these headrests out if you need to. Get a little bit better visibility if you don't have passengers back here. There is a power sliding rear gloss and interior light. Once again, these interior lights have to be upgraded. Just like the 2020 model, basically the same thing. I had to go through and upgrade a lot of lights to LED because they were just standard bulbs and not very good. Taking a look at the back of the vehicle, here at the top it has a shark fin antenna that's body colored. The third brake light is here at the top of the glass. There's also, I mentioned there's a sliding glass here that's powered. There's no bed lights or cargo lights up here though. They are located in a different spot, which I think they're really good. I'll show you that in a second. So it has the Ridgeline kind of pressed into the sheet metal back here on the tailgate. Looking pretty cool. And what's cool about, well, they added the dual exhaust to make it look more like a truck once again. They really did try to emphasize truckness in this particular generation here. Okay, so it has the, what I was gonna say is it has the tow hitch here with a 7-way outlet, but they go ahead and put a sticker right here showing you the capabilities. So it's a 500-pound towing capacity, and the tongue weight is 600 pounds. So yeah, having that sticker right there, you know, you can quickly see right what the capabilities are with the towing. I wish all vehicles would do that. All right, so the backup camera is a little bit offset here, but it is kind of integrated into the tailgate. Now the tailgate actually has two functions. One, you can just lower it down like so, like a regular tailgate, or, which I use all the time, is to swing this out. There's a handle under there, even shows you where the release, says release here on the bumper, so you can see it, and it swings out like so. There's also parking sensors on this trim right back here on the back bumpers. Okay, so now we can access the bed. We can actually walk right up here and access, well, deep into the bed. You can see the fixed tie downs here on the top and the bottom, here, and back here. Very useful. Now it has these lights here on the sides, and partially the reason why they're there is because it illuminates the entire bed at night. It's really, really good. But also it illuminates this compartment, which is lockable. It locks with the vehicle, and there's also a physical key there. But you lift this up, and once you get past there, then the light shines and illuminates this compartment as well. It does a really good job of this as well. In this compartment, which I have my stuff in here, but is super useful. Never had any problem with water getting in here or dirt or anything like that. It's just a really great trunk basically. And it does have a drain if you need to drain it out, but generally just use it like a trunk, and it is fantastic. Now this spare tire and tools are back here as well, and how you access them is there's these wing nuts right here. You just unscrew those, that one and that one, and then you take the tray. There's a handle right here, and there's a handle on both sides. You grab it, and slide it this way, and it rests on this piece right here, and it'll stay there. And then that way you can pull it back towards you and access everything on a tray. The tire, the tools, everything. And when you're finished, you slide it back in place, put the wing nuts back in, and it re-secures it. So it's completely out of the way in that spot. Very genius design of the location. It keeps the tire clean, it keeps the tools clean, the toys. And so a lot of trucks will have them underneath the vehicle, but you can see where this trunk space takes up that spot. And also the tire gets all dirty and it's harder to get to. This is very easy. Now you're limited on the size tire you can put in here, but it's fantastic design in my opinion. I also added some more tools in that spot, so there is a little bit extra space as well. And I like the way it has these little spots right here, so you can set something down. And so yeah, this is all good. This is like the main reason why a lot of people buy the vehicle, is this trunk space, because this is just a game changer when you're using this vehicle. You know, there's a lot of times you're not hauling something in the bed of the truck, but you do need a trunk space like a regular car. So this serves both it serves both purposes basically. You have a truck bed when you need it, and you have a trunk and this big and very useful, just like you would like an SUV or something. So yeah, this is a very practical and useful vehicle. So you see these little tiny wheel wells right here. Well, between those is over 4 feet. So it's like 4 feet and a little bit over 1 inch. So you can easily stack plywood, sheetrock, stuff like that in here, no problem. And you don't have huge wheel wells, little tiny things there, so they don't get in the way when you put more stuff in this vehicle. So yeah, it's a very useful bed, very functional. And what's amazing about this composite material is that the first day I bought it, I had to get some cinder blocks, and had to get a whole bunch of them. Well, I put them in here, and I was trying to be careful, and I was like, forget about it. I'm gonna go ahead and slide them around, and whatever I need to do, if it scratches it, fine. So what I did was put the cinder blocks in here, and then slid them around, and it was cinder block dust all in here. And I was like, man, I probably scratched the bed. When I cleaned it out, took everything out and cleaned it, it looked just like this. I couldn't believe that there was no scratches, no damage, nothing. Even after hauling all kinds of stuff and, you know, putting stuff in here all the time. And when I sold the vehicle, I cleaned it out, and it was just like this. There was absolutely no sign that I actually used the bed. It was unbelievable how strong this material is. It just looks like regular plastic, but it is it's just very surprising. This compartment here on the right side, it's not locking or anything. Open it up, but this is very useful for putting straps. So I put straps and gloves and stuff like that in there. Just some cheap straps, nothing major or anything, because theoretically somebody could open that up and steal them. But yeah, it's just a nice little side compartment there for that kind of stuff. The bed length to this part right here, when you have the tailgate closed, it's about 5'3". But when you have the tailgate down, sometimes you need to haul some longer stuff, it's about 6'11", and it's completely flat. The height is about 17 inches high. There is a locking fuel door, and it is here on the driver's side, and it's a capless design, which is very handy once you get used to it. Here's the floorboard in front of the driver's seat. The floor mat snaps in place, or hooks in place. These are little things that turn and holds it in place. These are nice rubber mats. It's a nice upgrade for the TrailSport package. Now there's the accelerator, brake pedal, footrest, and the footrest kind of like, there's a little spot right here that if you have a large foot, it kind of doesn't really accommodate like the full foot basically. So that was a little bit of a slight uncomfortable thing. There is a manual parking brake here, foot actuated. Let's take a look under the hood. The latch is right here in the middle. Just move it to the right. Honda's kind of had it in that same spot for a while. It's kind of a heavy hood. I think it should be aluminum or something, but it's kind of heavy steel hood. It does require a prop, and there's the prop here. It swings up. There's actually two places to put it. One right here, the normal spot, and then if you need to lift it higher, there's a secondary spot here. Yeah, that secondary spot literally lifts the hood up way out of the way. So yeah, that's really nice. You're not bumping your head or anything, and you get visibility in here. And it has this cover that covers up the engine, and this cover right here. And there's your box for the air cleaner and all that stuff. But basically, this is an all-wheel drive vehicle, but the position of the engine, unlike a lot of trucks, is this is like a front-wheel drive, right? So the front of the engine's here, the back of the engine's there, and then the 9-speed automatic transmission's back there. And it's a 3.5 liter V6, 280 horsepower. Nothing really, you know, special as far as like acceleration or anything like that. It's not weak or anything, but it's pretty good. It's good. It's all around good vehicle. It's one of those type of vehicles that's like practical and all around, and it's not really like super exceptional other than the bed design and the trunk and stuff like that. But yeah, it has some serious positives that are totally unique in the market, really. I mean, if you actually compare it and use the vehicle, it's like no other vehicle on the market right now. Driver's side door has the presets for the power seat. There's also the blind spot indicator is here on this pillar instead of the side mirror. Power windows are here. One touch up and down here in the front, and then regular in the back. Door lock controls, and then of course we saw the fuel door button. And the power seat is able to go up and down, tilt, all that stuff, and a two-way lumbar adjustment. And once again, these are pretty comfortable seats. Like I said, I drove the vehicle like this, 40,000 miles, and these feel about the same. And except for these are a different color, basically. It's basically the same seat, and I was comfortable the whole time. Didn't really have any issues with the seats. To the left of the steering column, there's a few buttons here. So this button is to heat up underneath the windshield wipers on the windshield. So if they become frozen, you can release them here. Forward collision warning system, you can turn that off. Default is on. Blind spot, road departure warning, sorry. Button is here. It has a little indicator light. Parking sensors, you can turn them on or off here. It has a little indicator light. There is the traction control. Default is on. You can turn it off. And this is the cargo lighting, which is the ones that we saw to the left and the right in the bed. It has an eco button. I didn't really have much of a success as far as actually getting better fuel economy using that. The vehicle gets about 23, 24. And as I drove it, the more miles I put on it, it got a little bit lower, got down to like 22. So that's something to consider. And then it has the power, side mirrors are adjusted here. Pick a side, adjust it with that little pad, and then right here is the power folding option. It has a tilt and telescoping steering column. And it has like this felt material right here. Keeps stuff from getting in there. So I'm 6 feet tall, and the way this vehicle is designed, the seat for me could go back just a little bit more, but it's okay. I mean, I've gotten used to it at this point. But I like the way when the vehicle's off, all the screens are dark like this, just completely black. And then when you start it up, everything comes to life. Let's turn this climate control fan down a little bit. All right, so the steering wheel on this TrailSport is kind of neat. It has the stitching here, and it's a heated steering wheel as well. There's the button, but it has the kind of orange stitching here, perforations on the ends, and fairly comfortable. It's a little thin here at the top, but it gives here on the sides and feels really good. It has the volume for the radio, change to the tracks. This button corresponds with the screen. We'll get to that. There's the voice recognition. Here on the right side is a cruise control. You can turn it on or off here. You can also change between the adaptive cruise control and regular cruise control by holding down that main button. You can set, resume, and cancel. There's the heated seat control. Lane keep assist system works pretty good. It's not like very solid in the lane, but it helps you drive and it doesn't annoy you. It doesn't fight with you when you're driving. And then there's the distance between you and the vehicle in front of you when you have the adaptive cruise control set on the vehicle. It does have paddle shifters that helps you have control over the gear ratio, especially when you're going down hills or something like that. Windshield wiper controls here on the right side, and then the turn signals here, but also have the headlight switch as well. So there's the headlight, parking light, automatic, and then you have off. You can toggle on or off the lights. Now, we're gonna see at the night video, once you put it in gear, it's gonna just automatically turn the lights back on. But if you need to toggle them on or off here, you can do that. And then there is the fog lights. You can turn on. Those are controlled separately. Okay, so the gauges, you'll notice that here on the right side is an actual physical gauge. Here on the left side is just a screen that kind of represents the gauge. It does have the digital speedometer there, outside temperature, odometer, the fuel gauge here. And the tachometer has some information here in the center, including a little clock at the bottom. But you can change through using this button. You see the little home button here and this little scroll wheel. Hit the home button and you can scroll up and down and choose what you want. So navigation will actually show, right now it's showing a compass, but when you have a navigation set, it will show the turn-by-turn directions right here. You can see the torque distribution on the all-wheel drive system, which is mostly the front wheels. You have the maintenance, tire pressure, but you can actually see the tire pressure. You can adjust the brightness of the gauges here. Gauge display settings. So you can go in here and choose what you want on this list and deselect it if you don't want it on there. Right, warnings, range and fuel. Go ahead and select that so you can see that. So I got 24, which I was on the highway a lot here recently. Speed and time. Whatever your radio's doing and whatever your phone's doing. So yeah, you can choose whatever you want here on the left side. So it has a little bit of customization there on the left side. But once again, this right side is a physical gauge, just like an old school type vehicle. Alright, so over here, this is the more higher, I guess, Honda doesn't really have like super advanced electronics, okay? So it has a decent system that's usable and it's not complex. A little bit of learning and you're fine. I like the way it has this little part right here to rest your hand. So if you're making a selection, you can rest your hand and make a selection. So this is really nice addition. Also the actual physical volume knob. So they didn't have that in prior, the prior before the refresh basically. So this is so you can see there's the home button there, and you can choose the different tiles. So it's just like a cell phone. So if you're accustomed to a cell phone, then you'll be able to use this, no problem. It does have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto if you prefer that. Navigation screen is functional and fairly decent. And it does have a decent search functionality as well, which you only do it while you're parked. You can't do it while you're driving. But it does have a voice recognition. So if you want to use your voice, Wilmington, North Carolina. And it narrows it down. So we'll go ahead and select that, and then you hit go. So if you know the address,
at the end of the road, turn right and then turn right.
If you know the address and you or if you know the location, or you have some kind of information that you can say, it'll narrow down your search and make a selection, so you don't have to actually type on the keyboard. So that's good. Go back home. It does have a back button, so if you're in certain screens, you can back out of those. I like the way it has a digital clock. Sometimes the time is of the essence. You can have the clock up here. Now I like a digital clock like that. We'll have that for right now. But yeah, having that as your main focus, especially since it has the date as well, that's nice. And also the clock up here that stays up there is large enough. It's not like, you know, too small. A lot of vehicles have this big screen, but they have the clock like a little tiny thing on the screen, and there's all this extra space. You know, why not have things maximized and utilize the space that you have? But yeah, it's a fairly decent system. You know, it doesn't have like the most advanced or anything like that, but it's simple, easy to use. You got the volume knob, change to the tracks, you select your audio source, put in your navigation stuff, whatever you want to do. It does have the satellite radio as well. and it's, you know, very, very usable without being overly complex. And I think that's the point, really. Climate control down here, it does have a tri-zone, so driver, passenger, and the rear, which you can adjust separately. And you can sync those all as well. There's the fan speed, where you want the air to blow, recirculate the air, air conditioning. You can turn the system on or off, turn it on auto, and then you can have the front and rear defrosters here. When you turn on the rear defroster, the side mirror, heated side mirrors will also turn on. You have the heated seat controls here for the driver. It's a three-stage passenger heated seat. This little compartment right here is kind of useful. It's kind of shallow though. I always had a problem because my particular cell phone doesn't fit in there. You know, it'd be nice to just kind of slap your phone in there. But this vehicle has the wireless charger, and it actually charges with my case on it, so it works out perfect. And there's some space here on the right side. This is all rubberized. There's a USB-A, USB-C charge ports. This is to actually charge the cell phone. This is to connect with the system. Now, when you connect it with the system, it's going to pop up and try to get you to use Android Auto, that kind of stuff. So I try not to use it because I don't like using Android Auto. There's a 12-volt power supply, 180 watt max. And there's the cup holders. And this generation, since the refresh has little articulating arms here to accommodate for different size bottles and cups. The previous one did not. So when I put my bottle in there, it was rattling around, and this one isn't that tight, but you know, if you have a coffee cup or something, it's nice to have that that snug feel. Here's the shifter. And once you get, I know a lot of people don't really, their first knee-jerk reaction is to not like this shifter. But if you give it a chance, it's actually pretty good because you don't have a stick sticking up to move and to get in your way, right? So that just eliminates that whole problem of reaching around and having something in your way. And it's electronic anyway, right? So it's as simple as pressing a button. Now you're in drive. You press it again. Now you're in a sport mode. There's neutral. Pull back here for reverse. We put it in reverse, the backup camera pops up. We have different views. There's the wide view, which is excellent. I like that. Once you get used to this view, you'll love it because you can see both ways behind you. And it's a little distorted looking, but once you get used to this view, it's fantastic. This is a more linear view, but you're not looking both ways behind you. And this is a top-down. This is mostly used for backing up to a trailer. There's also the road cross traffic alert system, which you can turn on or off here as well. So yeah, the camera system is not the best in the world, but once you get used to the way they designed it and the purpose of it, it's actually pretty good. All right, and then once again, you just press the button to go back into park. So just pressing buttons, it's very simple. You know, it's not complicated. Once you get used to it, it's a no-brainer. So this button right here is to change through the drive modes. So you got sand, normal, snow, mud, and sand. So it's just telling the vehicle what kind of terrain you're in so it can know how to behave, basically. The normal is fine. I didn't go any like significant off-roading or anything. I did drive on dirt roads and stuff like that, but you know, the normal all-wheel drive system and drive mode is fine for my needs. The automatic stop start or the idle stop system, you can turn it off here, and that's what I did every time I start the vehicle. If I remembered, just go ahead and turn it off because it gets annoying after a while. Turning the engine off and every time you come to a complete stop. So yeah, this whole area is new in this refresh here. Here is the armrest, nice and soft. It's big enough that you can potentially share it with the passenger side. You can see right here, I'm not sure what's going on with that, but it seems like it's glued in place, so it looks like it left the factory like that. So there's the stitching here, it looks good. This is a little catch. It doesn't rattle. Press the button, it springs up a little bit, doesn't slap back down on you. It's kind of spring loaded. And then you lift it up, it goes right there. And then you have this compartment here. It's pretty good size. It has a rubber mat at the bottom. I got my business cards in there. A little place to put some coins or a pen or something like that. And this is rubberized as well, so if you put a pin there, it's not sliding around. So yeah, this is a good compartment. It doesn't have any kind of connectivity in there, so there's no obvious place for wires to go in and out of this compartment. So it has a auto dimming rear view mirror. There's also the HomeLink garage door opener controls here on the bottom as well. If you need to turn off the auto dim part, you can push that button to turn it off. So you have these tap lights up here, that one, and then those are separate. These are just kind of quick reading light. They shine in your lap so you can have a, look at something at nighttime. But there's a separate button here that turns on all the interior lights, and that's a separate button. So you can see this is a light that's separate from that light. You can have them turn on manually there, turn them all off, or have them turn on with the door here in the center position here. These are for the sunroof and the rear glass. We'll get to that in a second. There is a place to put your sunglasses here, but you notice it doesn't have the mirror. It has like a spot to put the mirror. It's a conversation mirror, but for some reason they just didn't include it. I think it's basically a thing only in the Pilot, but they just left it out on this one. It'd be nice to be able to use that to see passengers in the back sometimes. And then the visor has a mirror with some lights. This is a black cloth, just like the headliner. It does extend out on a metal rod, like so. But yeah, no clips or anything like that. Okay, so this sunroof, it has a shade that covers 100% of the light. You can open it up, and then this left one is the switch for tilting it, closing it, or opening it. Press it again, as far back as it goes. And the switch to the right opens up the back glass. And while we're looking back here, you can see the visibility is actually pretty decent. The pillars are reasonable size, so looking over your shoulder, seeing behind the vehicle is actually no big deal. And you can actually take those headrests out if you need to. If you don't have any passengers back there, you can have a little bit better visibility. Now it does have the parking sensors, blind spot detection system, rear cross traffic alert, camera, and all that stuff as well. But yeah, overall visibility, not really an issue. Turning radius is really good. For a truck, this is pretty decent. And it drives like an SUV, because that's really what it is. It's an SUV. So when you're driving, it has just an excellent ride quality. Like, it really is good. I mean, there's a lot of, like the Ford Ranger, right? The Ford Ranger is bouncy, and you can tell it's just like a truck. It doesn't feel smooth and anything like that. And when you put plywood in the Ford Ranger, it's not going to lay flat, stuff like that. Now the same thing with the Maverick. Now the Maverick has a great ride quality, but the bed isn't as functional as this bed, and so something to consider. I like the Maverick. I was very impressed with it, but as far as actually buying it to use to move stuff, it's not as practical. It's not as good. It doesn't have the same trunk type compartment and all that stuff. So yeah, this is a very unique vehicle. I did notice that the 9-speed automatic, I don't know if they fixed it by now. It seems like it's always been a problem, even when they put the 9-speed ZF transmission back in the Jeep Cherokee and stuff like that. This transmission doesn't like it when it's very cold. When you first start it and you just take off, it's gonna shift a little bit wonky. That's just the way it is. But once it gets warmed up, it feels good. It's a fast shifting transmission that's smooth and not a problem. Another thing is the engine is not very loud. Unless you really accelerate, you're not really going to hear the engine. It's not going to be droning in the background. It's not really going to be an issue. The overall quietness of the vehicle is good. This one has road noise because of those tires. So me personally, I don't really need off-road capability, so I would go for like more of just a regular road tire. They'll be good for highway and stuff like that. So the road noise is not a characteristic of this vehicle. It's really those tires that's making it do that. But it does ride, the actual ride quality with those tires on is fine. The handling is great. It's real easy to just kind of zip around town. That's not to the floor, by the way. It's faster than that, but it's not really made for going real fast. Has a little bit of, like, you can hear the engine when you accelerate and all that stuff, but it's not a big deal. Cruise control works great. Doesn't fight with you with the lane keep assist system. Yeah, it's the best. Okay, so a couple things. The ride quality is really important to me, and this one it just nails it. There's no other pickup truck like this, you know. Same thing with the trunk in the bed. The actual composite bed is great, but in addition to that, because of the size and everything, but in addition to that, that trunk space back there, another game changer, because there's a lot of trucks that have, you know, back seat storage and cargo area back there, and, you know, but this one, for the size, the weight, the ride quality, and all that stuff, it's just a no-brainer. Like, there was no other truck that I even considered when I went to buy a truck, because of these factors, you know. The Santa Cruz is kind of like this, but it doesn't have the bed space. It doesn't have the little trunk that it has. It's not all that great, as far as, it's not as big. It's cool looking, and all that stuff, but I think this is just a more practical vehicle in overall, the Ridgeline in general. You know, the TrailSport, I mean, that's just a cosmetic thing, or, you know, if you kind of like the looks or whatever, but just the in general, any of the trims aren't like hugely different in most Hondas, you know. In this particular case, you know, it's the TrailSport, but just in general, the Ridgeline is a very functional and practical vehicle. The prices of them, you know, the prices of the vehicles are ridiculous, I guess, so it's hard to really comment on that compared to previous years. Just for context, I paid, mine was an RTL trim, and it had leather interior and all that stuff. There was very, very minimal differences between that one and this one, but I paid $40,000 out the door for a 2020 RTL. It was all-wheel drive. It had, you know, there was small differences, like it didn't have the lights in the visor there. There was a couple things that just very, very small difference. It didn't have navigation, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, it was. So this one, you know, is a little bit more money, and that's just the way it is with the market. So yeah, if you have any questions, the Ridgeline, I don't have one anymore, but I really enjoyed when I did have it. It was very, you know, very enjoyable vehicle. Didn't really want to sell it. It wasn't like I'm selling it because I didn't like it or anything like that. It's just the situation I was in. I had to sell it. But yeah, if you have any questions or anything, I'll try to answer them, because I have a lot of experience with the Ridgeline. The 2017 to now is basically the same thing, except for other than cosmetically, it's slightly different. But yeah, it was kind of weird that people complained because it didn't look like a truck, even though, you know, that's the point. It's supposed to be different than every other truck, but people want to make it. Were complaining that it didn't look truck enough, so they just basically said, okay, fine, here's some truck characteristics, and it actually worked because people like it. You know, it's funny how, like, you just have some surface level changes and people have a different perception of it. But yeah, it worked, and, you know, if they like it better, that's good too. But for me, I kind of like the previous. I like the fact that it didn't look like every other truck on the market, because this is actually quite a bit different than you know, every truck. So, you know, why not make it look different? But that's the way they decided to do it, based on customer demand. So I can understand. But anyways, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.